Okay, we're going to start immediately. I'd like to welcome Vuyokazi. Please come up, Prof. She's been with us since 2010 with her e-learning journey, and she's made use of online environments for content communication and assessment tools. And recently, she created a scaffolding approach to highlight various concepts within her online environment. And she also created digital stories for her students. And so thank you for all your efforts for you.
Thank you, Juliet.
Is this mic on?
Yes. I think they can hear me.
Yeah, all you can.
I think my voice is loud enough. Thank you. Morning, colleagues. Molweni. Okay. Thank you very much for this opportunity, Juliet and your team, for inviting me to be part of this colloquium. Yes, you're right. I've been using eCanva, and I'm one of those people who are so scared of technology. And standing here also, I'm not an expert, but I've tried something on eCanva, and I thought of taking it further. And I thought this is a very, very good space to share what I've been doing with my students. Firstly, let me just give you a brief background. I'm in the Faculty of Education, so I'm a teacher educator. So we prepare with my colleagues students to teach in schools at different levels, that is at the senior phase, grades 7 to 9, and at the FET phase, that is grades 10 to 12. So I'm responsible for isiXhosa method, that is I prepare them to teach isiXhosa as a home language, not for conversational purposes, that to teach it in schools. So what I'll be sharing with you this morning is what I did with my third and fourth year students with regard to digital stories, right? And coming from a language background, I just thought that we might want to see the relationship between the traditional way of storytelling and the digital way of storytelling. We know that our parents or our grandparents have been telling us stories in Zomi, in my home language, all right? And then now with technology, with the advance of technology, things have changed. Most of our students or our children are listening to radio, to TVs, but there is a connection there. I'm trying to show the connection. The traditional way of storytelling, and then now there's been a move recently to digital storytelling, which now has a relationship with storytelling in that in it there is oral, that is oral skills and or communication skills. But within digital storytelling, one aspect which is new has been the infusion of technical tools. That is your music, your pictures, your whatever. And that is the integration of digital technology. And with traditional stories, the belief was that there was an educational aspect. In fact, there is still an educational aspect in storytelling. Our grandparents would try to instill cultural values, educational values, moral values through storytelling. And it's still the same. So that means it's just a shift. Storytelling will be storytelling, but it's only now that it's been digitalized because we're living in a digital world. That's what I'm trying to say about that slide. And my second slide, I hope you can see it clearly. I told you that I'm a teacher educator. And when we prepare teachers, they are expected to have that mix of knowledge. The discipline, that is the content that they will be teaching, and pedagogy, that is the how part. How are they going to impart the knowledge that we give them? The fundamentals, having an understanding of the policies that underpin education. And practical, they have to practice and stand in front of children and impart knowledge. And then the situational, that is the understanding of the context in which they work. And I would think that some of you are asking, what does that kind of integration have to do with storytelling? There is a connection. If you look at all those mixes, those knowledge mix, central to them is the issue of communication. Whether they are doing practice teaching, they have to communicate. And communication can come in various ways. It could be through storytelling, through digital. Whether they need the understanding of policies, that is the fundamentals, or the discipline, there is and part of skills, literacy skills. They have to know how to read the policies, how to interpret the policies, how to talk about them. So there is a connection. And as we move to the digital era, it is important for us that even within the integration of this kind of knowledge, our students should be able to make use of digital tools. Right? And now, what is the value of digital stories in education in general? I think it links to my discussion that it's an innovative way of teaching, and the experiences there are personalized in that. The particular individual, that is the student, owns the knowledge because they learn by doing, they do things. And they can explain some issues better than when, for example, they are writing or they have to talk. Some are shy. We have students with different learning styles. So the stories are kind of inclusive in the way our students learn. And they enable our students to deal with real life issues. For example, you'll find that when they tell stories, some of those stories are related to them in person, the personal issues, the issues around them, the environmental issues. And more so, they are student-centered because the person or the student designs or constructs his or her own knowledge. That is in general. And then, please tell me the time. Just to summarize what I was saying is that in digital storytelling, I've taken that from Wang and Zhang to say that there are key elements in the design of a digital story. The first one would be the point of view of that particular person who designs the story. What is your view? Then you put it down as as part of your story. And there is a question that is driving that particular point of view. Okay, all right. And then the emotions, there's always emotions embedded in a story, and the economy that you make very little of use of words. And the sound is there, and your voice emerges quite strongly, and the pacing, you can pace your way. I have to rush myself. I'm sorry. And then now, when I think, let me briefly go through this to say that when I was working with my students, I had the notion of knowledge construction. That is, I want my students to construct their own knowledge. And I know that as academics, we always try to put theories in place. And then now, instead of talking about constructivism, which all of us are very familiar with, I thought of constructionism in that they do things that are visible. It's about the mind and the external world. And in any digital story, there will always be a narration, a narrative part of it. So my understanding in working with them is that there is something driving. They must construct their own knowledge. At the same time, they must also communicate. And briefly, I'm working, as I stated from the beginning, that I'm working with Xhosa method students. And I know that literature tells us that there is a myth to say that there could be no technology in African languages. And I think one of the drives, one of the rationales that pushed me to go through was to show people that we can make use of technology in any language, whether it's an African or an European language. And that's what I did with my students, the Xhosa method students. They are prepared to teach languages. And I had in mind what is required by schools, that is in terms of the curriculum which wants them to be communicative, to be integrative, and to use different types of texts. And with the support of the centers, the sixth, we were very lucky to get support, to get our students supported. What's happening now? Okay. Sorry. I just wanted to show you what's happening now. All right, let me talk because I don't have much time. So we're supported by the center in terms of training our students. All right, there is the example to design the digital stories. We were assisted there by the digital center. Go down to the next slide. And in this one, it's just a minute long. I decided to share with you a story that was designed for a particular grade, for a grade 7 class by one of my students. It's very short, but what I like about it is that it incorporated all the key language aspects which have to do with literacy development. It encompassed the oral. Yes, a little bit. Do we have time?
Ikati ezimbini ezilwayo.
Just 1 minute.
Zombini ezikati zazifuna isonka. Zalwa kanobomu zisilwa ngesisonka. Zithe zisalwa njalo kwafika inkawu yabuzwa nilwa ngantoni na nina. Ziphendule zathi silwa ngesonka. Ibuzile inkawu kutheni ningasohluli. Ziphendule zathi asifuni omnye afumane ngaphezu komnye. Kulungile ke itshilo inkawu yathi ndiza kuninceda ndinohlulele ngokulinganayo. Yasiqhekeza phakathi yatya esinye esincinci yaphinda yatya neso sikhulu. Zabe zisilwa ke zona ke ikati azabona naloo nto yenziwa inkawu. Yaqhubekeka nokutya isonka eso sonke. Zithe zisothuka zona ikati sabe isonka siphelile zafana mthanyana. Yathi yakuhamba inkawu zasheka zibonisana ikati apho ziphazame khona. Liphela apho ke ibali lekati ezimbini.
Thank you. I think you have learned something out of it. Eh? It's a pity that you are not my class, otherwise I was going to ask questions of what you think is portrayed in that particular story, but I don't have time for that. But what I was trying to show you is that this was designed, it's the shortest, and it was designed by one of my students. And in it, it's a story, but you could see picture what I talked about in the beginning. You could see the written part of the language, and you could see the voice. That is the student owned the way. That's exactly what I was trying to say, to talk about constructionism in that now. Apart from constructing her knowledge or his knowledge, there was something that he produced. And what we did was to connect, I'm having 00 next to my plate, to my name, was to have them have a reflective journal. So they have written some journals about their experiences. And at that stage, in my personal observations was that they were so enthusiastic about it. They were so excited. They were so joyful in doing all these things. And what I'm trying now to do is to study their journals. I'm analyzing their journals, and I'm going to follow up with interviews. I'm at that stage. And hopefully, if I'm invited next year, I will share with you the output. Thank you.
Thank you so much for you. I could see how she brings across the connectedness, connecting the fundamentals, the literacies, and the pedagogy. And reiterating that technology can be used for any language use. Thank you for that. And I saw in that little fable that what you look at in the mirror, you will see that beauty, etc. Be confident in yourself. I picked that up as well. So I could answer some questions, Steve. Okay.